Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host here, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports and this is our Chalk Talk in between the lines with Mr. Scotty Webb, live from Florida. Apologies, I jumped in with Riley for the closing bell. It's been a while. Great show. Hats off to Riley for all that he does here at ECSI, and then boom, the internet. Probably, computer thing here that went. Then backstage with Scotty getting all set for a 7:00 start, and it's dragging, it's lagging. Listen, I can't win when it comes to the internet. So we're going to do our best to get Scotty on to get some MLB talk. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Scott E. Webb. Good evening, Scotty.
Jeffrey, my friend. I would say what's going on, but I already know. So, it is what it is. It's all good, man. It's Tuesday, baseball Tuesday. Every day is baseball day around here. So I'm excited. I got a lot to say today. So hopefully we got people that are willing to ask some questions too, so I can get something in there that maybe I don't know what's coming, but I'm excited for the show tonight. It'll be good.
Starting to see again the ups and the downs, the ebbs and flows of the MLB, the marathon, 162 games. My red hot Red Sox a week ago, the talk of the town, come crashing and burning, and as the Cards come flying in and sweep the Red Sox. And that series sweep is going to come back to haunt them. Both had 2 games, one where Jansen blows not 1 but 2 after Wednesday, getting his 400 save. That's a 4-game swing that you're not going to be able to come back. And then to boot, the ESPN Sunday night travel team was the Cardinals. They come back home to the Brewers, and they lay a thumping 18-1, where, again, the Brewers had Flaherty on the ropes in that first inning. Bases loaded, 1 out with the horses coming, and 6-4-3. Thanks for playing. But it's been a week, Scotty, and I'm trying to look right now. There's nothing going. 7:45. If you want to come in, do a quick intro on the games that are just starting, some leans that you might have had, then we can get back into the talk if there was anything out there just starting now.
Yeah, I was looking at a few things. One of the things that I bet today is Seattle plays Boston today, and Castillo's on the mound against Pivetta. And I played on the Seattle side, and one of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to limit. Now Seattle's got a pretty good bullpen. I know they didn't do a good job the other night. They didn't close out a game. They got kind of shelled up, but they've got a good bullpen, so I'm not worried about their bullpen. But at home, Boston likes to battle, and they like to play pretty hard, and they can be behind 6-0 and come back and win a game. So and I don't know that that's really that way on the road as much as it is at home for them. So I do trust Castillo in this particular spot. He's off of a below average game that he pitched the last time out. He's got good metrics for tonight's game. His xFIP number is a 3.2 and his Sierra number is a 3.14. So that's pretty good. It's better than the average number. And Pivetta is a 4.86 and a 4.60. So that's a run and a half difference there. But one of the things that I'm really starting to focus on is a metric called WPA. WPA is win probability added for players. And I think it's important to understand what it is as a metric, and then how do you use it. So it's measured by every play that they make. So for a hitter, if he gets a hit, or if he moves a runner over, if he makes an out, if he does this or he does that, he gets plus minus, points for that. So he's either helping his team win or he's not. So it's win probability added. So when I look at the pitcher, they start to compile. So it's a compiled stat. It's not something that you're going to have on one game, and then it's not going to be the same the next day. So over the course of the last 30 days, for example, Castillo is a even number, so he's kind of average. It's a 0.01 to the good. Pavetta is minus 1.09. Okay, well, I know those numbers don't mean anything to anybody, but let me put it in perspective. Anything that's over -1 over 30 days is not a good number. That's a terrible number. In other words, you are costing your team the ability to win based on your performance alone. So he's actually the worst rated pitcher in that category today. So I jumped on the idea that I think that Castillo can at least hold his own against Pavetta in the first 5 innings. I'm not going to go past that because I don't know how long Castillo is going to go. I did this last night too, and last night the game was the Oakland A's game, and the pitcher for the Oakland A's was -1 point something, whatever it was, and of course he gave up 2, and then he gave up 2, and then he gave up 1, and then it was 5 or 6 to 1 or something like that, or 5 to 2 at the end of the game. So I don't just say, okay, well, this is what I'm looking for, and it's got to be a combination of things, because I don't really think that you can just go and say, hey, that stat's what stands out, and you want to bet that just because of that particular thing. But it's a kind of new wrinkle that I've been playing with a little bit, but I think it makes sense. You can use it the other way too. Like some of these guys have that to the good. So another way to look at it is the WPA is when guys get in trouble and they get guys on base and they got to fight through an inning and they don't give up runs, they get a lot of points for that. So when guys give up runs and they don't get out of those innings, they don't have out pitches, for example, they get minus points. So you can look at it as a toughness scale too. So you can kind of look at, well, what pitchers are out there that, they're not going to give up the runs when the stuff comes and hits the fan, and you can kind of see. So, for example, in tonight's game with St. Louis and Milwaukee, Wade Miley is a junk ball pitcher. Everybody knows that. He can't throw the ball 80 miles an hour, right? I mean, that's what he does. But his WPA score is 0.57. That's pretty good. That's not great, but it's pretty good. And then Jordan Montgomery, who has a lot better stuff, throws the ball better, strikes more guys out, probably a better, even more known name, higher rated pitcher. His WPA tonight is minus 0.36. So he's not been able to get out of those type of spots, and Miley can. So that one thing can help understand why certain teams or certain players do well in spots. So, Miley's been around for a long time. I would never want him on my team, but at the same time, why wouldn't you? Because look at what he does. He goes out there and pitches so well, and he does so good, but it's because, we put him in a playoff game, he's probably going to get hit. So, but we're not talking about playoff games. We're talking about regular season games. So I think that stuff matters, and I think that you should put that in your handicap. So I did bet Seattle today. I think that game in New York is going to be an interesting game because of all the minutia of all the stuff from last night, of whether or not somebody was, looking in the dugout, made him cheating and all that stuff. I'll say this from the research and different things that I've seen and heard, and little clips of this and little clips of that I've seen. And obviously I wasn't there, and I'm not in the dugout, and I'm not directly talking to anybody. It appears as though the Yankee first base coach had a perfect view of the Toronto pitcher, and meaning that the pitcher had his back to the first base coach, and he would hold the ball in his open hand behind his back. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just kind of how he holds the ball to get prepared to pitch. But he would hold it a certain way when a certain pitch was coming, and hold it another way when another pitch was coming, meaning that his hand was either on the ball one way or another way on the ball. So the first base coach can see that, and obviously he picked up on it or whatever. And if Aaron Judge or anybody else on the Yankees team is looking down there, that's old school baseball stuff. That's not like you're using iPads and this and that and electronics and cameras and stuff like that to steal signs. So whatever they said in terms of whether or not that was something that was legitimate or not, that's just baseball, guys. And as far as I'm concerned, that's agreeing with TJ here. That is the correct way to steal signs. That is the right way to do different things. And that's what they've been doing in baseball for years. I'll even say it this way. Why does the catcher in high school baseball throw down signals? Why does in Little League they do the same thing? Why do they do that? Why does the third base coach doesn't yell out to the hitter to that we got a hit and run on today now? Well, because they got to hide what they're doing, right? They don't want everybody to know what's happening because they can defend those things. So when you do that, that's legitimately 100% the right way to do it. It's not 100% the wrong way to do it. And it doesn't matter. I wouldn't give up my secrets if I was the Yankees and they learned that. Maybe they can continue that. But I would really hesitate to say that, this society that we live in today and the cancel culture and all the stuff that we go on with, all that stuff about how certain things happen, and then all of a sudden it falls in line with everything else, and it's just the bad, and it's all bad, and it's everything's terrible, and these people should go to jail for this and that. You stealing signs in baseball has been going on since they started throwing baseballs. So don't worry about it so much, and kind of enjoy the game some. Now, in terms of some of these other games, the kid pitching for Atlanta today is not very good. So I don't expect him to do real well tonight. What's his name? His name is Schuster. I don't expect him to do that well. And I think Dunning has hit kind of a spot too where he hasn't had a setback yet. He's been pretty good. And his Braves lineup is not a lineup. So I think there are going to be some hits in that game. Theoretically they're going to score some runs. Now, the next one that I looked at was the Cubs and the Astros game. I don't think there's going to be hardly any runs in that game scored. Javier has been really, really good. I don't think people understand how good, but he's been really, really good. Javier is 12.13 strikeouts per 9 innings, Jeff. Strider is like 15. So everybody knows what Strider can do. Well, 12.13, that's pretty damn good, man. I mean, that's as good as it gets. And he's just a dominant pitcher. And I don't think anybody really is out there going, hey, Christian Javier, blah, blah, blah. No, they're not, because the guy Framber Valdez is pretty good for that team too. So and Steele's pitching for the Cubs, and everybody likes Steele, but I think Steele's one of those guys that again he's not a 95, 98 mile an hour thrower, so he's got to throw the ball where it needs to be, and he's been doing that pretty well. But his xFIP number, for example, is 4.5. His Sierra number is 4.7. I think he's going to be a little better than that, though. He has kind of off an average game the last time out. He didn't strike anybody out either. He's only got almost 6 strikeouts per 9 inning. So there are going to be balls in play. But what's good about a guy like him is where he puts the ball, because his hard contact rate is only 14%. That's really a good number, So if balls are getting hit hard, that's one thing. If they're getting hit soft, well, most of the time that's easy pop-ups or just 2 hop ground balls. They pick them up and throw them out, So that's where I don't think there's going to be a lot of runs scored in that one. It's been a difficult board today, to be honest. I thought it was really hard. I think that one of the things that's been good for me as of late is I'm a data guy, so it takes a little while for the data to come in. But now that it's been coming in, I think I am 8-4-2-1, and I'm 10-5 in my last 15 bets. And to be honest with you, I probably should be 12-3 because of the stupid shit that happens in these goddamn baseball games. So last night I was on the Astros in the first 5 innings. I don't know if anybody was watching that game like I was, because I was on the game. The score was 4-0 Astros after the first inning. And I'm like, yep, there we go. Framber Valdez on the mound. This is going to be no problem. Well, the Cubs scored 1, made it 4-1. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. They're going to score one here and there. And then Framber Valdez started not throwing strikes and getting the ball all over the place. Pitch count gets up, and whatever. He made a mistake, and the Cubs hit a 3-run home run, made it 4-4. And I'm like, holy shit, they did that like in the fifth inning, for God's sakes. So I'm like, okay, well, I got this half inning to score 1 run. I mean, and the top of the lineup's coming up. So what happens? Dubon gets up, base hit. All right, perfect. Got my leadoff guy on base, not a problem. Next guy up, Bregman, base hit. And I'm like, holy shit, here we go. Dubon gets to third base. I got guys on first and third with nobody out, and Alvarez is at the plate. I'm like, shit, all he has to do is hit the ball. I don't care where it goes. If he hits a ground ball and it's a double play, they're still going to score a run, and that's all I need to cover that half a run, right? Because I'm losing. Well, I don't know what the hell happened, Jeff, because I didn't see it live. I watch it on my phone a lot because I like to look at where the pitches are and what these guys are swinging at and all the bullshit. Because you should really watch me one day, but we should film that because I'm like going ape shit. So Alvarez hits a ground ball, and it goes to the first baseman. Somehow they throw the guy out at home plate, and then they throw Alvarez out at first base. So they get a double play on a ground ball first base to the catcher, from the catcher back to the first baseman. And then I got a guy on second base with 2 outs. I sit there and I go, now wait a minute. I just had guys on first and third with nobody out and Alvarez is up. Now I got a guy on second base with 2 outs. Are you goddamn kidding me? And of course, Tucker, he hits a fly ball somewhere and they get out, and then I lose the bet. And I'm like, this is the way this season has been. But I can say I've been 10-5 in my last 15 bets, moving in the right direction, and I feel good about that. And there's other, I can just tell you all these stories about all this bullshit, but nobody wants to hear it. But I just thought that was an interesting story from last night. Another way to lose a goddamn game that I probably have done before, but whatever. I mean, I've won games that you don't think about that way. And look at that, Boston's got 4 already, so there you go. I'm losing that game already. But anyway, point being is there's a lot of things going on that I think happens in baseball, that if you don't just sit there and go like this and brush some of that stuff off, you can drive yourself crazy.
Baseball, and we're coming up to the April and May, so we're coming up to the second month here. I talked to you backstage, and everyone here that's an ECSI VIP or anyone that watches and listens to some of our shows, the market has changed. They have drastically taken away a lot of team totals. They have the under-overs, the first fives. They're coy. They know the sharper people are looking for. It's not even an edge. We're looking to try to extract as much plus money as possible, number one. Number two, markets that aren't as heavily walked on. Anyone can play the nerfies and the yerfies. It is what it is. But and then they play the full games, and then they play the under-overs. Well, we try to peel those onions back as far as possible, and I feel your pain on that. We had that curse for 10 to 12 days, bases loaded, no outs, and we can't score 1 run. So it just blows my mind. As you said, first and third, it wasn't bases loaded. So how do you get a double play first to catch it back to first when it's not even a tag play? I mean, it's not even a force play. So right. Either I don't know. He had to have been moving on the play or something. They were obviously playing contact, which Alvarez the infielders are playing back. So I didn't see it live either, but I feel your pain there. I have to ask, you're there in Tampa, you got a pulse on Tampa. The injuries keep piling up. There's no way in holy hell that you can keep Taj back there anymore, right? He's coming up, right?
I haven't heard that he is, but they need to bring somebody along because they're going to need some pitchers, man. I know that Glasnow's on his way. Glasnow's already, Glasnow's out throwing. So I think he's probably maybe a couple weeks away, but he's on the way. They're going to need more than that though. But I don't know what they're going to. I haven't heard anything about his name. So I haven't heard one thing. But I would think he's coming. But you got to do what you got to do, I suppose.
Well, I mean, you just lost another pitcher for the year, so I mean, you only can
Mm-hmm.
do how many bullpen games? I mean, who are your horses right now? You got McClanahan and who else?
Well, you had McClanahan. Well, you have McClanahan. I'm sorry, and then you had Rasmussen. Rasmussen's now gone, so he's gone. So
Yeah,
so you have Eflin, who they've been using, and I don't think Eflin's a horse. So he's a guy that can make he can make you look foolish. But then you got a whole bunch of guys that are going to come in there and throw bullpen games, and like tonight, tonight's they got Beeks that are going to start, and then Chirinos is going to pitch, and that formula has been pretty good for them. And you know who's been better than what I probably is Fleming. Fleming's been better than what you might have thought he should be. So I still think that they would, if they had their choice, I think they would rather have Glass now there and have Taj there, and put McClanahan there, and Rasmussen's not going to be there, so you're going to need. You're going to need those guys when it comes playoff time. Those guys are going to have to be able to go out there and throw 100 miles an hour.
well, you'd want to talk about. I didn't have it, but just thinking out loud, Saturday, McClanahan 6-0 lead. Not only do they lose the game, they don't even win the first five. Can you imagine that?
Well, one of the things that I looked up today, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'll look it up again real fast. I thought that it was pretty interesting to do some stuff on player stats and just grab starters, and I'll do this by qualified starters, but we'll look at from the date is going to start from we'll use May 1st of last year, not use, so it's like a full season, like a full year, say. So we'll use May 1st of last year to today, and we'll pull up those numbers. And it takes it a second. So let's go submit. Wait a minute. Custom made. That's what I want. Oh, we got it. Fangraphs there. So what I noticed was, and here's what I was doing. There's a pitcher for the Pirates who I don't think people really understand how good he's been, and that's Mitch Keller. And the reason I wanted to bring up Mitch Keller is because Mitch Keller is like a top 30 pitcher in all of baseball. Nobody's giving him credit for that. I thought he was probably better than that even. But so when I looked this up, here's the numbers. Aaron Nola leads all baseball with a 6.9 WAR number. Zach Gallen's number 2. Kevin Gausman's number 3. Sandy Alcantara's number 4. And Shohei Ohtani's number 5. There's your top 5 players. So all those guys that the Mets just went out and got, they're not in there. Framber Valdez is number 6. Luis Castillo's number 7. Bieber's number 8. Fried's number 9. And Yu Darvish is number 10. So I thought it was interesting because Shane McClanahan is number 17 in terms of WAR rating and all of that stuff. Now his record is 18-6. That's pretty good. I mean, that's not bad at all. But I think people go and they hear what they hear, and then they go and say, well, that guy's a pretty good pitcher. I think he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. And then I sit there and I go, no, he's not. He might be in the top 50 somewhere, but he's not the top pitcher in baseball anymore. Some of these guys like Scherzer, I'm trying to find him on the top list from that. I mean, that's recent. I mean, that's like May of last year, May 1st of last year. And Scherzer, let's see, where's Scherzer at? Come on, come on, come on. I get it. Max must have been hurt some, so Max isn't even a qualified pitcher. So let's change this down to we'll make it 150 innings. How about that? That way, 140 innings, and maybe I'll find some other pitchers in here. Carlos Rodon shows up in there then. Here's one. George Kirby. And Jeff, this is a story that I'm going to relate to sort of what we were talking about. This is a handicapping story that's not going to sound like it. So, guys, if you're listening, I don't know how many guys we got out here tonight, but I can't see those things. Sometimes I talk about certain things, but this is a handicapping story. So I'm going to have an analogy to that. So what this is last night I'm watching two pitchers pitch because I'm on one of them. I was on Shohei Ohtani last night, and I'm watching him pitch. And like I said, I like to watch the phone because I like to see where the balls come in, what kind of pitches they are, and I like to see what the velocity is and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm all excited because, the Angels score first against Rodriguez. And then I'm like, okay, this is here we go. Shohei gives up no hits. So this is going to be a good thing. So he gives up a couple of runs. So I'm looking at these things and I'm looking at how he gives them up. And it's a red ball. Then it's a blue ball that says runs. And what they are is they're sweepers. That's the new pitch. And that's the new term that everybody calls it. All it is it's a slider with a different speed, but whatever. Call it a sweeper if that's what the terminology they want to use is. So that's a sweeper. Well, they hit a home run off a sweeper. They get a couple of hits. He walks another guy. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, Shohei Ohtani, you throw 99 miles an hour. That's your best pitch. It's a fastball. And you're throwing sweeper after sweeper and curveball and slider and all this bullshit. So then I'm like, okay, great. He got out of the inning. They're just 3-1 behind or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden the Angels come back and they score some more runs. And I'm like, oh, great. Here we go. This is awesome. They scored some runs. And then I'm like, okay, well, now he'll get his sense together and he'll go back out there and he'll throw. And it goes out there and does it again. Sweeper and curveball and sweeper and curveball. And bang, there goes another home run. So, and I sit here and I go, well, that's what happens when you're a professional athlete and you're good at what you do. And handicappers are the same way. So what I mean by this is you get good at understanding how to read things. So because you're good at understanding and reading things, you try to get ahead of all of that. And you try to pitch backwards, or you try to do this, or you try to do that. So here's what happened in the other game I'm watching. George Kirby's pitching against the Red Sox yesterday. And George Kirby's a young kid. He goes out there and throws 95, 96 miles an hour. He doesn't throw 100 like Ohtani does. But he's out and he throws the strikes. That's what he does. His walk rate is like 0.5 or something like that per 9 innings. So he doesn't walk anybody. So he's out there and he's throwing strikes and he's just throwing the ball in there at this corner and that corner and pinpointing the ball and throwing it 96, 97 miles an hour. Very seldom is he throwing a slider. Very seldom is he throwing anything but a changeup or something. It's fastball after fastball. It's moving the ball here, moving the ball there, and sure changing the speeds a little bit. But he's dominant with his fastball. And I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do. And that's what a pitcher is supposed to do. So what happens is these guys get out on the mound and they forget that they're supposed to get outs through pitching with what their strength is. They go out and try to do things versus the data and information that they got put in their brain. So they get this information that this guy can't do this and this guy can't do that, or he's a fastball hitter and we need to do this or we need to do that. So they change what they do and they look at different things, and then all of a sudden they're not the same pitcher as they were, and then they get hit. So the analogy of this is that that's exactly what happens to handicappers. People that know the game, that get involved in the game, they do what I call get too cute. And what I mean by get too cute is they'll start looking at stuff like data points. I just brought up WPA, for example, and somebody might just be betting based off of WPA or something, or they'll go and they'll fall in love with CLV and go, okay, well, I got to make these bets because CLV tells me I have to do that, and that's what I have to do. Or they'll read some trend and the trend comes across and says, I got to do this. Okay. And then they start losing bets, and then all of a sudden they're not the same handicapper they were, and they're not the same handicapper that they were because they're not following the strategies that got them to be the good handicapper that they were in the first place. They're doing the stuff that thinks that they're getting ahead and putting them in the right spots, and it just doesn't. So how do you do all this? Well, you gotta go back to the simple thing in pitching. It's you gotta throw strikes. You got to throw the fastball first, and you got to put it where they can't hit it or they're going to make outs. Hitters aren't smart. They swing at balls all the time. I see it every day on the little ball chart thing. The balls are not on the plate. They swing anyway. They don't have plate discipline. So when you're the handicapper and you're doing these things, the first question you got to answer, then the only question you got to answer, who's going to win the game? Start there. Start with the understanding that who is going to win this game and what is the probability that they're going to win the game. So is it going to be a competitive game? Is the game flow going to look a certain way, one way or the other? There are going to be a lot of runs in this game. Is it going to be competitive, a low-scoring game? Because once you have an understanding of who's going to win the game and what the game flow or what the competitiveness of the game looks like, you can make a bet. And then you have to figure out what wager type fits what that outcome looks like. And once you do that, you're going to start winning bets. So the point that I'm trying to make here is don't get too cute with all this stuff, because there's 8 million things that you can look at, and there's 30,000 things you can do to get information from. And I'm not saying not to get your information because you need it, but I am saying don't let that distract you from what you need to figure out, and that's who's going to win the game. Certainly you can be wrong, but that doesn't mean that you can't be convicted going to the window with what you think is going to happen, and you think this is going to go a certain way and this is going to win. And if you do that, you're going to be a lot better off than, blaming or looking at CLV or trying to figure out what data point works and what trend or what situational analysis does and all of that stuff, which sort of brings up another point. I've been seeing a lot of things about SDQL. I don't know. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about, but SDQL is a database that you can learn the language of, and you can type in certain things and get whatever you want. You can type in, the St. Louis Cardinals play after a game tonight where they beat a team 18-1. What is their record after they, won by 13 runs? And it'll come back and tell you all kinds of data. What it'll tell you is the results of what you asked it. And then it'll come back and it'll show, here's the total synopsis. This happened 15 times over the last 10 years. And in that situation, if you bet on them this many times they won, this many times they lost, they're plus this, they're plus that, return on investments, this and that. Yeah. So I'm not saying that that's wrong either, because I think SDQL is great for pointing you in a direction. I don't think it's great at all for you to go out and wager on. I think it's good to say, hey, this is a series of outcomes that outcomed this way. And then what you have to do to make it a wagerable outcome, or an outcome where they say, if you have a opinion that you can make a wager on based off of those outcomes, then you have to tie it together to a logical stance. All right. So what does that mean? Okay. So if I were to go tell you that the who's playing in the basketball tonight? The Lakers and the Nuggets. There's a thing out there on SDQL that the Nuggets are 23-0. The trend is that that this team, the Nuggets, should be is 23-0 as a favorite on the money line in game 1 of round 3. Now, is there any reason for that? That's what you got to figure out. So what that means is in the last 23 times, the game 1 basketball series home team is 23 straight wins. Now, against the spread, they're not that high, but they're 23-0 on the money line is what it tells you. So the money line's minus 240. You want to go pay minus 240. If it's 23-0, then minus 240 is a no-brainer. You pay the minus 240 because you're getting better return on investment than not. So, but my point to you is what's the correlation, right? So they come up with these SDQLs all the time, and one of them tonight was on the Dodgers. And it was more based off of the Twins being in a certain position, meaning that they're an away dog of plus 180 or more, whatever the number was. I can't remember off the top of my head. And that they were a favorite before, and they lost in a 1-run game. That's what it was. They lost a 1-run game, and now they have to be they're an away dog of minus this amount, and they're like 0-11 or something in that spot. So it means you need to go out and bet the Dodgers. So here's where you got to try to make the correlation. There is none in that spot. Okay, so what I mean by that is, so that they lost a game that ended by 1 run. They lost by 1 run, and then the next game they are an underdog of plus 180 or whatever it is, 170, and they lose all the time in that spot. Okay, well, they're supposed to lose in that spot. They're not supposed to win in that spot. But my question to you is what's the correlation to why you would want to go do that? That's an anomaly, not a I shouldn't say anomaly. That's just something that has happened based on the results. And then because it's been put into this picture, it's a scenario where you want to go make wagers. I'll give you one that makes sense. So the other night, I saw an SQDL on the Kansas City Royals, and it was on Zach Greinke. And Zach Greinke was an away dog, and he was bad in the spot that he was in. He was plus whatever, and he was not good in terms of the number. And the number was based on him being on the road and being plus 170 or more or whatever. So then I started thinking about it, and I started looking at it, and I started thinking, well, that makes some sense. And the reason that it makes sense is because in the last, say, 3 or 4 years, who is Zach Greinke? Zach Greinke is just a guy that's a journeyman that goes out there. He's pretty tough. He's pretty tough-minded. He just doesn't have the out pitches to get you out. He's on the road. And his team is not very good. So he's not going to be the favorite anyway in many of these spots. So even if he holds the other team down to say 3 or 4 runs, he's probably going to lose. So it made sense that Zach Greinke in that spot is not going to do well. And it's because of who Zach Greinke is and who he pitches for, not because of the scenario that he was in. So, or the team that he faced that he was in. So if you make the correlation to why certain things make sense and why other things don't, then I can tell you that you should follow the logic of what some of this stuff is and not. Because these guys that post this stuff on Twitter and other social media places are doing good work. They're not doing bad work. They're doing good work. Giving you that information is not a bad thing. Your job is to figure out, does it mean anything or not? Because if a team wins 15 times on Monday and they're playing on Monday again, does that mean they're going to win the 16th time on Monday? Probably not. But if it's a spot that because one team is in a desperate situation and the other team is not, or this or that, or whatever the scenario that came about, then you can put logic to it and then support it and actually make it a wagering opinion instead of just some set of results that you're going to try to put money on. And I see guys doing this all the time. And sometimes it's worthwhile. Other times it's not. Most of the time you're going to end up in these scenarios where they find these 23-0, 23-1, 30-2 type trends that you can wager on. And if you do that, you're going to find yourself usually in a spot where you're playing a favorite that's minus 250 in baseball, or in this particular case, a minus 240 in basketball case, or even higher in some of these spots. And they think it's okay. I'm not telling you that it's not, if that's your opinion, but I would tell you that over the course of thousands of bets, you better not lose any of those, because if you lose any of those, you can't afford it. It's going to take a hit on your bankroll. So anyway, food for thought on some of those things. I hope that helps a little bit in terms of trying to figure out where some of that stuff goes and what you should be looking for. Just start with who's going to win the game.
I got some good news from you from the farm. I tagged you. And I don't even have it now. I tagged you on it though. Good 4 innings from Glass now. Had like 9 Ks.
I see it.
So good news from there. Currently, as we speak, I'll run down the board. Orioles 4-1, bottom 4. Tigers 4-0, top 5. Marlins 2-1, top 6. Yankees 2-0, bottom 3. Red Sox 4-0, bottom 3. The Rays put 3 in the top 3, up 3-0 against Verlander, and the Brewers 1-0 against the Cardinals, bottom of the first. Closing thoughts, sir.
So I want to just say this too about some of these teams as a closing thought. You know, the New York Mets and TJ, close your ears. So one of the things that I'm going to tell you is that some of these teams are hype, and I think the Mets are that. So here's what I'm going to tell you to do. Go to baseballreference.com, pull up their standings, and you can look at things in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways you can look at their standings is they will show you teams against their record against, whether they're 1-run games, right-handed, left-handed, home, away, inner, all kinds of different spots. But one of them is above 500 and below 500 teams. So the New York Mets, for example, the New York Mets have played only 9 games against teams above 500. So think about that first of all. So what kind of schedule do you think that they've got coming up? And then they've played teams that are less than 500 33 times already. They're 17-6 against teams that are less than 500, Jeff. They are 3-6 against teams over 500. That doesn't show me that this is a team that's going to be built to battle any of the good teams. They're just not going to beat the good teams. And shit, they can't hardly beat the bad teams. So they're in for a long summer. But I will tell you there are certain other things like here's what I'm going to tell you to do. Sell the Dodgers now. Get off the Dodgers. The Dodgers are 20-7 against teams under 500. That's 27 games against teams under 500. They've played 15 times against teams over 500. They're 7-8. So that's pretty average. You need to be better than that. So like the Tampa Bay Rays, they're 14-9. Everybody said, hey, their schedule is not very good. Well, they played 23 games of teams over 500, and they're 14-9. Of course, they're 17-2, Jeff, against teams under 500. So my point is the Atlanta Braves, 22-7 against teams under 500. That's 29 games against those teams. where these teams are going to go face the good teams, and we just saw the Braves get swept by the Blue Jays, right? So look, you gotta the teams that are probably pretty good that you got to kind of pay attention to. The Texas Rangers, they're 11-8. They're for real against teams over 500. The Baltimore Orioles are 11-11. That's not terrible. That's 22 games they've played against teams over 500. So you look at some of these teams, the Astros, they're 14-10 against teams over 500. That stuff plays out and it makes a difference because when you start to look at who they've played and what they are, you're going to run into the fact that the good teams can beat up the bad teams, but the differentiation between them is going to be what they do against each other. And I think when you think about it, that's one way to separate them.
No, I agree. And again, you talk about data, you talk about, gathering information. You can use April as hey, we're getting our feet wet. We're seeing which lineups work. Now we're halfway through May. Memorial Day will be in 2 weeks. We will have 2 months of data. So as I like to say, the cream starts to rise to the top. You're going to get the ebbs and flows, 6-game winning streaks, 6-game losing streaks. We talk about not stepping in front of those trains, but that's a great point. How are the teams versus the below 500 teams, and how are they against the cream of the crop? And again, we look at I call them lightning rods. The average person goes and wants to play tonight. What do? They flock to the Dodgers. They flock to the Yankees. They flock to the Mets. And that doesn't mean, look at Verlander today. During the closing bell, I was trying to explain to everyone, listen, Scherzer and Verlander aren't those same pitchers that they were 4, 5, 6 years ago. Can Verlander go and spin one tonight? Sure he can. Where was the actual value? The value is on the Rays. You're getting great plus money. You're getting a team that just keeps coming. And offensively, excuse me, TJ, I hate to say this, close your ears. Offensively, it's night and day what the Rays can do and what the Mets can do currently, less Alonso, obviously. But the fact is, the Rays are the better team. It's just that we flock to the starting pitching. That's where the opening line, that's where the closing line is. It's Verlander versus Beeks. Every time I see Beeks, I think of trading places because of Beeks and whatever that guy's name was. I don't think of him as a starting pitcher for the Rays. But you guys got to stop peeling that onion back. Do a little homework. Do a little research. Get off those trends. Trends can be your friends, but I call them water cooler games. They get you off your seat. You just saw, again, I always make up these things up, but hey, the Boston Celtics are 10-0 off a loss on Wednesday night when a team travels to the Garden, something stupid. And then you go to the water cooler and you grab all your friends and you're like, holy shit, did you just see that stat that was on Fox or on ESPN? Yeah, I'm going to bet the Celtics. Well, damn right. Where was it the first 10 times? Because usually on the 11th time or the time you see this trend, it loses.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. I mean, I sit here and look at some of this stuff and I think things this way, right? I think fans have opinions and they're allowed to have those opinions, and they don't bother me that they have them. Gamblers, wagerers, investors, you're not allowed to have those opinions. You have to have opinions based off of what you're going to put your money on. They're two different things. You can root for your team. You can root for this. You can root for that. You can do all the different things you want to do. But you better have a solid understanding of who's going to win the game and how the competitiveness of the game is going to go. You might be wrong, but that's what you're wagering on, and that's what you put your money on. All this other stuff is nonsense, and it's all fun. It's all fun and games for a lot of people, but in our worlds, it's not fun and games. It's life and death. You go and you win or you lose, and if you lose, it hurts because it comes right out of your damn pocketbook. If you win, it's like, holy shit, I got to do it again tomorrow because it's the funnest thing in the world to go win, and they go, holy shit, I got to do it again tomorrow. I can't do it fast enough. Let's go win some more. But if you don't like the work that goes into this, I feel sorry for you. I mean, I can be up all night, every night, and just pound it and look at it and do that. I go take the Joe Rogan pills and go like, holy shit, I can be up all night now. I can take this stuff and blah, 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 and do all this stuff. And the next day my eyes will be like, oh, I got to go like this just to stay awake. But that's because I enjoy the work part of it. If you don't enjoy the work part of it, how are you going to enjoy the success part of it? And if you don't put in the work part of it, you can't enjoy the success part of it because you don't know what the work is.
You use that word conviction. And again, I like to use the word, it's ego and entertainment, meaning the general public, the degens of the world, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year. It's just a couple $100. It's just a couple $100. It was for entertainment purposes only. If I win, I'm just going to double down and I'm just going to push the envelope because we want to go to Tahiti next month, yada, yada, yada. And what you've basically done in a nutshell is you've funded your book's mortgage, his car payment, his kids' college tuition, because you're paying them $300, $400, $500 a week, and so aren't 50 other people, why the 3, 4, 5 guys that broke even or won a couple hundred are just stashing it into their bankroll and moving on. So as always, Scotty, it's been a pleasure here on Tuesday night. As the week progresses, we'll see if we can sneak another one in. Otherwise, maybe we'll take a look at the weekend. But as we close, always tell everyone where they can get your work.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter. That's the best way these days. I haven't been doing too much on the website. But website is Webby. No, it's not. It's MLB-daily.com. I'm like, holy crap, what am I talking about? And then I'm trying to get my website going. And then the best way to catch me is on Twitter most of the time. I'm always there. I'm not always necessarily interactive. I do a lot of retweets and tweets of other people's stuff, but stuff that I kind of think is great. I think what I follow is pretty good. So follow me there. And if you're interested in packages, you can do that too. They're $49 for a month. And, hopefully we can get some more of those people. I got like 5, 6 guys. That's all. So if you get 5, 6 more guys, that'd be great. Just to help get through it and get everybody talking a little bit more and stuff like that in Telegram and our page packages and so forth. So, but anyway, all that being said, Jeff, I mean, it's a great show. I love being on here. I love talking baseball. I didn't get as many questions and interactions as I was hoping for tonight because I thought maybe we'd get some questions, but you guys can ask questions. Don't be afraid. Like if you say, hey, well, oh, by the way, it's 4-4 in that Seattle game. So it's one of those situations where you said, so I still need a goddamn another one. But anyway, you sit there and you just gotta kind of go with it. And here's one thing I'm going to ask you, Jeff, because it's just driving me crazy. So I was, what was I on? Oh, I was looking at some of these other guys and some of these other services and some of this other stuff that's getting some notoriety. And I'm looking at it, and these guys are asking the basics questions and the silliest stuff. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, there's 2 guys that have been doing this we've been together for, I think, almost 10 years now. I don't remember how long it is, but maybe it's that long. We've been on video for, I don't know, 4 years together. I don't know how long it is, 5 years since we got to be doing this on video.
We used to have hair.
And I sit here and I go, you know what? Where are these guys at? Why aren't they asking us the questions? Because the reason I say that is you personally, I can speak for. I trust you and I know you. Me personally, because I know me and I trust me, I'm not going to steer anybody the wrong way. I'm not going to tell you something you want to hear. I'm going to tell you how it is. And hopefully, willfully teach you something. We want you to be happy. We want you to be fun. And I see guys charge $1,500, $3,000, and they get this money. And I go, what are these guys doing? And you don't even know, you don't even know the most common basics things. I see people ask the question, well, what's the minus sign mean? What do you mean? What's a minus sign mean? And you're paying somebody $3,000 to give you plays? Are you kidding me? So I'm like, quit getting taken advantage of, and work with people that'll work with you. That's all. And I don't know how else other than to say it is. It's I think I don't know how the right word to say this. I think that it's not a realistic expectation for people that are new to the business, new to sports gambling, to wade through here and get caught up in all the bullshit. And get with. And I know we're out here just like everybody else, so everybody else might think, well, how do you figure out who's bullshit and who's not? But my point is that we're going to tell you whether we lose. We're going to tell you whether we win. We're going to tell you, like, the last couple of times I've been on, it's been pretty tough, but now it's turning my way a little better. So, things are better. And that's the way it goes. I mean, sports gambling or any kind of investing isn't always going to be the cream of the crop, the tip of the top. But when you win, is it fun. And I would just say this, that I think that if you're out here in the gambling world, in the sports betting world, do your due diligence that you're not doing, please. Because in my opinion, there should be no such thing as scammers and bullshit and all this other stuff, because you can spot them a mile away. It's really not hard. And you're not doing your homework, right? So for those people that would ever come online and come out to these guys and go, well, what's your record? If you don't know my record, if you don't know what I'm doing, you're not doing enough homework. How about that? That's your job, not mine. You need to be that detailed about who you choose and what you're doing with those people, so that your investment of choice is because you did that research. If you're not willing to do that research, I'm not willing to tell you nothing. How about that? There you go. That's my 2 cents.
And to close on that, again, a lot of times, a lot of people will go to the chat rooms. They will go to the highest priced guy. Well, if he charges that much, he's got to be real good. And I got stories for days for people that spent $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on high profile names. And I won't throw some of these names under the bus, but if you Google search sports services, and you'll see some of the big names up there, and just go check some of the prices. And then they came back to me and said, hey, Jeff, I just spent $5,000 on this service, and I have $500 left in my bankroll. Can you save me? And I'm like, dude, I'm not a miracle worker, first of all. Second of all, I'm not a scratch ticket. And third of all, where were you with the 5,000 to start with? Why didn't you come here? Why didn't you go see Scotty? And again, names, faces, they don't change here, guys. I always use this, and I say it for a reason. If you're bored and you don't know what East Coast Sports Investors is all about, just Google search sports investors. That's all you have to do. We are on the first page. We're the number 1 ranked sports investment service in the whole wide world. And we've been here forever. Again, we're here for a reason. And a lot of times people don't want to listen, Scotty. It's a few good men. They can't handle the truth, because the bottom line is they're here for entertainment purposes only. They don't want to be told why this side is the right side. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to win, but here's the logistics, here's the numbers, here's the reason why we think this is the right side. But that's for a whole nother show. We got a good hour in tonight. I want to shout out TJ and a few of the regulars here that have been watching and listening. Thank you guys so much. Always best of luck with your wagers. Stay in touch with Scotty. Stay in touch with me. You can go right to our YouTube page at East Coast Sports Investors. Go rewatch this show. Go ask Scotty some questions at Webby20MLB. You can ask me at EC Sports Invest. And we'll be back soon. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Andrew McGinnis will be talking some NHL. 6 o'clock, Brady Cannon will be talking the PGA Championship. He had Jason Day last week pre-flop at 19-1. We'll see what he's got for this second major. And in between, myself and Riley will get together and do the closing bell. From Scotty Webb at Webby 20 MLB, from Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest. Guys, have a great night. Cash some tickets. Stay focused. Stay in your lane. And we'll see you tomorrow.